The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Welcome to Talk Politics. I'm your host, Debra Hutchison. When Uxbridge voters go to the polls this October, a familiar name will not be on the ballot. Gerri-Lynn O'Connor served as Uxbridge mayor for close to 3 decades before accepting the position of Durham Regional Chair following the passing of Roger Anderson. Her time as Durham Regional Chair will soon be over, but we've got her in the studio. Probably one of your last interviews.
It will be.
Before that time has elapsed, and we're really glad that you made time for us today.
Thank you so much for asking me.
So you have been Durham Regional Chair since April. April. How has that experience been?
It's almost surreal.
Yeah.
I was struggling. I knew I had to leave politics because I'm a firm believer that you just know when it's time to go, and as hard as it is for you to make that decision, you know, new blood, new thoughts, processes, new approaches to things take place, and you know it's time to move on. But I was really struggling, and then when I was asked if I would take the chair's position for the 8 months until the election, they knew that I was probably not going to run, but I had to make the commitment to the region that I would not put my name on the ballot. And so that forced me out of Uxbridge, so to speak, and but gave me a huge opportunity and to sit as regional chair and to experience that for the last, as I said, 3/4 of the year in the chair's position. I can't thank my counselors at Regional Council enough for giving me that opportunity to be able to do that.
You took on the position at a very, I would, emotional time for many people who knew Roger Anderson.
It was. I'd worked with Roger for 27 years, and I would class him as a very dear friend. We didn't always agree. We approached things differently. He was probably more of a politician than I am, but I had nothing but respect for him, and I will say to my last days that Durham Region is Durham Region today as we know it because of Roger Anderson.
How would you classify his style of leadership and compared to your style of leadership?
I don't know whether you can, to be honest with you, because first of all, he's had many more years to have contacts and to understand the, let's say, the business part of Durham Region that I have. But I think that women do approach things differently than a man, and not saying it's right or it's wrong, it's just a fact. Yeah. And I think it's been good for staff and for the regional council to see how I approach things versus how Roger did. Not that the way Roger did it was wrong by any means, or what I'm doing is right by any means, but we do have different personalities and different ways of approaching things.
What is your approach?
My approach is probably, I don't suffer fools gladly.
Neither did he, though.
No, but I think my approach is probably in a more calm manner. I do believe that everybody that approaches council has a right to be there to express their concerns. It doesn't mean that they might differ from regional council, but they might not be wrong. And I think it's good that there's public that come in and state how they feel, because at times, you know, they bring forth some pretty good reasons why we should be maybe looking at things differently. What else can I say about that other than, you know,
have you always had, I mean, you strike me as a very calm person.
I am, but as I said, I do have a point where, you know, that's it. And as I said, I have absolutely no patience for anybody that speaks disrespectfully to staff or speaks disrespectfully in a council chambers. I mean, what you see during the television during House of Commons, or you know, to me, it's just horrid. If you can't present your opinions or your thoughts in a respectful manner, there's something wrong. So I've always tried to keep that line. We're here to do what is good for, in this case, the residents of Durham region. We have to have respect, and we have to have understanding, and speak to each other in a respectful tone.
But you've been in politics now for over 3 decades.
Yeah.
You started at a time, here you were a woman in politics when it was very much a man's world. Some would say it still is a man's world. You know, talk to me about when you first were on Uxbridge Council and how you made your mark, and how you managed to get your point across.
I always did my homework, always. So I came into meetings prepared. I approached things that, first of all, I never looked at myself just because of gender. I never really looked at myself differently. I was part of the team.
But did other people? Did you feel that?
Probably. No, I have felt often that somebody at the table at any given time might say, what is she doing here? But, you know, I just look at them and think, you know, I have as much right at this table as you do. And I never let it bother me. I just kept going in the direction that I thought was the proper and the right direction. And I can honestly say that I have never experienced a bad situation because of my gender. And I don't know whether it's my character. I don't know whether, I have no answer to that. It's just, you know, I've always come prepared, and I think that's one of the things, is that somebody started to challenge me and thought, well, maybe they'll catch me up on something.
Right.
That, no. You know, I spent every weekend reading agendas. And if I didn't have the answer for a meeting, I would make sure I'd go to that, to the office earlier, prior to the meeting, and try and get the answer. But other than that, I don't know. I was always, my grandmother, who I had the utmost respect for, always said, don't let gender get in your way. You can do whatever you want. So maybe I'm oblivious to what people think. I don't know.
Well, you've said to me, though, too, you don't take things personally. You don't let it to hit you on a personal level.
No. You can't. You'd be a basket case, particularly in this last few years, where I find a total disrespect from citizens, and the entitlement they feel just floors me at times. But you know, I have asked people to leave my office until they can talk to me respectfully. I talk to them in a tone that I would want to be spoken to, and I expect the same from anybody that comes in and wants to discuss anything.
We're almost at the break point, but I wanna start by talking about your time at AMO. You just got back from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario.
Correct.
And off camera, we were talking about. You're a little concerned by what you heard in respect to a review of regional government.
I'm very concerned.
So what was discussed, and what are your concerns?
Well, we heard that there was going to be a review. of regional government. My concern is, and this is my humble opinion, I'm talking for myself now, not necessarily as the chair, but I would think that the chair would have the same concerns, is that I would hope that Queen's Park would not make any changes until they've gone out and consulted, meaning consultation, with the regional municipalities to understand how we how we work, the services that we deliver, and be well aware of what their decision making, the ramifications of their decision making might be. So often, and I'm talking about provincial government, not party politics here,
right,
is that they say, oh yeah, we'll consult. They give you 5 days to reply to a question and answer. You can't do that and have meaningful consultation. You have to sit down with the whatever the committee
or
stakeholders, right? Exactly, stakeholders as a whole, and understand why we're saying what we're saying. And that scares me that they might just come out and have a few questions and say, oh, we're getting rid of it. I mean, it was like Doug Ford, and again, he made a comment when he addressed the AMO delegations about, yes, he was on council. Well, you know what? You were on a city council that has different rules than the rest of Ontario, and you were there for 4 years only. So how much do you really understand about the issues of counties and regional government when you have had no experience? And when I look at the makeup, and I mean, I have nothing but respect for people that put their name forward and want to serve their province, but I would say the percentage would be extremely low of people that are sitting in that government that have municipal or regional experience. And I've always said since day one that I got on council, I really think that to get in a provincial or a federal seat in government, you should serve 2 terms at a local council so that you have a basic understanding of how that lowest tier works.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We're going to take a quick break. More of our conversation with Gerri-Lynn O'Connor after the break.
The following program is brought to you by Rogers Anyplace TV. Enjoy exclusive content for free. Visit RogersAnyplaceTV.com.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
It's a crazy real estate world out there. The battle of the bids, the housing bubble, the all too popular impending crash, yeah, whatever. If you want the real deal when it comes to the market here in the Durham region, I've made it so all your questions are answered, ensuring your next move is your best move. So join me. Get your house sold with Sean Lackey.
When you become a Rogers volunteer, it's always an opportunity for everybody to come together and try different things that they've never been able to do before. I encourage everybody to be a volunteer at Rogers TV because not only do you grow professionally, you grow personally as well. I would love to be in this field in the future, and Rogers TV is the perfect place to find your footing. My name is Tyler Hodgkinson, and I'm a Rogers TV volunteer.
are back. We are in conversation with Durham Regional Chair Gerri-Lynn O'Connor. Now, right before the break, we were talking about possible changes to regional government and a provincial review of regional government and your concerns. So that's your concern, that they're going to come in and perhaps chop regional government like they're now trying to do with Toronto Council?
I don't know whether my concern is they're going to chop it, but when they say they're going to review it, they need to understand first, through the review process, go out, spend time with people that are working in the system, and not only the staff but the councillors as well. Find out where maybe improvements could be made, but don't tear down something and then try and fix something that really isn't broken. Doesn't mean that I don't say that there are areas maybe that could be improved. I mean, there's always that. But, you know, we're really, and again, not talking about party politics, because I will not get involved in party politics. But if you go back a number of years ago, when the Harris government came in and made all those changes, regional government is still feeling the outcome of some of those things that happened. And I think there's a far better way of doing things than just saying, well, we're doing this, we're cutting back wages, we're going to take X number of police away from you, we're going to do whatever. You know what? If that is what needs to be done, and we that work in the system can understand why they're doing it or how they're going to replace programs, I'm not saying that that shouldn't happen. All I'm saying is make sure that you consult and fully understand the ramifications of your decision making. There's only one taxpayer in this country, and I know that we are the baby, so to speak, of the province of Ontario, but they cannot keep downloading. The federal government downloads to the province. The province can't keep downloading to the lower levels, be it regional or counties or single tier municipalities, without understanding that the only way that we have to provide those services is to put up your taxes. And I truly believe, that people are at a saturation point with their taxes. We've got the highest taxes in the country. We are the only province in Ontario that is charged with social housing.
Right.
And this all adds up.
And that is the result of the changes you were talking about years ago. You took on the downloading of social housing. Or social services. Social services.
And there was some good things done, don't get me wrong, back then regarding social service, but the housing stock has suffered ever since. We don't have the money to put in for retrofits where we would be ultimately saving money in the future, such as, you know, new windows, new flush toilets, all those types of things, because we don't have the money to do so. And they were downloaded, some of them, in deplorable condition. And we had to take over the mortgages of them as well.
Let's talk about Toronto and the changes that are facing that council. I just want to get your thoughts on it, about the timing. And now Toronto is challenging the provincial government.
Okay, the timing, I think, was atrocious. I just can't believe any government, another level of government, would do that to, you know, basically their counterpart after an election had started, because there's a lot of people that have been out campaigning, have spent considerable money, and now for the very ward that they were campaigning for is no longer there. If the City of Toronto, the province of Ontario felt the City of Toronto had too many councillors, then they should be told, in my humble opinion, the next election, your council is going to be down to this number of councillors, but don't do it after an election has started. Do I think that it was a good move? I've never sat on Toronto Council. I think that the worst thing, again, in my humble opinion, that has happened to Toronto Council, it's very oriented to party politics. And that's something that, as long as I have been in politics, I have made sure party politics never entered the municipal council chambers, and I feel the very same as regional chair. We work with whatever party is in there, and party politics shouldn't enter the game. What you do in your own time is up to you, but certainly when you're there, we work with the party that's in power. So I don't know. I've never sat there, Deborah. I don't know how somebody that's only sat on council for 4 years can make that decision, but it was made. He has the power to make it. Does the City of Toronto have the right or the ability to challenge it? I've heard both sides of that story. I'm not sure. But they're still going through, as of today, they're still going to challenge it. But, I mean...
No challenge would be complete in time for the election, though.
Well, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. And, you know, the election is going to go through, so what do they do? Does the decision come after that? Then do they undo the election? To me, if they're going to... maybe the best thing to do would be to hold the Toronto election date at a different time than what ours is. But the whole thing, to me, is so unnecessary. You know, change it in 4 years.
Not now.
Not after people have been out campaigning. I think that's very disrespectful, not only to the politicians that have been out campaigning, but also to the residents.
Okay. All right. So on that note, let's move back here into Durham region. You have a few months left.
Right.
What's on your to-do list still?
Keep the ship sailing in the right direction and hope we don't hit any tidal waves. Again, you know, we're in basically a very steady time because of lame duck council, which Durham region is. There's 10 that we know will not be coming back. But just to make sure that the business of the day that we can do gets done, and that the matters of interest for the residents of Durham region are being properly addressed.
Now you mentioned, you know, big changes come the October election.
Right.
Bunch of new faces on regional council, but also staff as well. We've had a lot of retirements.
Yes.
Correct?
We have. Gary Cubitt is our CAO and has done a wonderful job for a number of years, over 40 years. And he will be retiring. We're going out the door together, so to speak. And council, by resolution, has given the authority to the 8 mayors and myself to make a decision and bring forth a bylaw. So that process is starting next week.
The learning curve when you're new on council, I guess, as you would know better than any, you know, there's a learning curve when you have so many new faces that will be on council, plus, you know, new staff as well. Does that kind of make it a little more challenging, or will it?
You know, it might make it more challenging for the people that are coming back than for the people that are just coming into regional council. And in one way, maybe it will be a bit easier for a new CAO who has a number of new people coming in as well, because it's people like myself that have been there for a long time, and you know, maybe there's new suggestions of how things might change and that sort of thing. And I think the human brain says, well, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Whereas I think it will be great to have somebody come in and maybe bring, as I said, bring new ideas, do things differently, and that's absolutely with no disrespect to the great job that Gerri has done. It's the same as me coming in with, you know, and sitting in Roger's chair for the short time that I have. People look at things and take different approaches to matters. So I think in one way it's going to be good. I don't worry. I worry more about the challenges that council is going to be facing than the fact that there's going to be new people there, because I think that, you know, the new staff as well as new councillors have a steep learning curve at the beginning, and their challenges today are going to be a lot more complex than they were, say, when I came in 1982 as a regional councillor. But you get through it. And as I said, I can't speak more highly of the senior staff, but also the staff in general. You know, be it the people at the depot that look after our roads or the people that look after our money, you know, they are totally dedicated.
As are you, Gerri-Lynn O'Connor. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks for joining us. We are out of time.
Thanks
so I have to
much.
say thanks so much. Thanks so much for all you've done for Durham Region as well. If I don't have the chance to say it after today, I'm saying it today.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. This has been Talk Politics. Until next time, I'm Debra Hutchison.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Treaty in Cree is Naskometoin, an oral agreement. And our agreements were always spoken. For George Spence, the core of treaty was Wichihioin, to help one another.
And so we, the commissioners...
He was there for the making of Treaty 9, where the Cree were told...
We will honor this agreement together, for as long as the sun shines and the waters flow.
The Cree made their mark because they were assured that the land would be shared, and they would always be able to harvest what they needed. George Spence was my great-grandfather. In his life, he saw many promises of the treaty go unfulfilled.
Treaties were essential to the creation of Canada. First Nations still fight for the agreements to be honored.
Hello, I'm Liz Dowdswell, Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. In 2008, carbon monoxide, a deadly invisible gas, killed an entire family in our province.